And we finally got to the president's desk, months after we passed it in the Senate, not just once in generation, but literally, I think the biggest investment in infrastructure in our country since President Eisenhower invested in the interstate highway system back in the 50s. And this bill just isn't about dealing with roads and bridges or making sure that we get rid of lead pipes for water or expanding high-speed internet. It really is about adding prosperity to our nation. And in so many areas, like our airports or our rail system or our transit systems, or about finally recognizing with climate change we have to deal with resiliency, we are making record investments and returning America to that kind of first world status that has been, frankly, the strength of our economy through most of the 20th century. But as we all know, over the last number of years, with crumbling roads, with water systems that are aging, with airports that sometimes look like you're coming into a third world, with rail delays, that infrastructure advantage in many ways for our economy became an infrastructure disadvantage. This job's been estimated to create about 2 million jobs a year over the next decade. So again, these are jobs being around infrastructure that can't be offshored in any way. So let me get into some of the regional benefits, because everybody from Virginia, from Lee County to Northern Virginia to the shore, are going to benefit from this important new law that now will have to be implemented. And let me say, as somebody who's been a former governor and business guy, making sure we implement this in an appropriate oversight way is something I'm going to be all over. Well, let's start with Northern Virginia. What are the wins for Northern Virginia? Probably one of the biggest is the commitment to Metro. We got an 8-year reauthorization for Metro. We got additional money for transit. We know Metro's been going through some challenges with safety issues with some of the cars, the 7000 series cars. Those cars are actually going back online, but part of Metro will mean increase in building a couple of additional stations, obviously one around some of the new developments with Amazon and the Virginia Tech Innovation Campus. That is going to be terribly important. One of the things that we got funded as well is the so-called Long Bridge. That will dramatically increase the number of rail that will be able to be provided by VRE. So that means for folks who are going out to Manassas or going down to Fredericksburg, a great increase in the amount of service. There are also in this legislation $66 billion for passenger and freight rail. That will benefit not just Northern Virginia, but will actually make sure we have better rail that's going down to both Richmond and down the peninsula to Hampton Roads, but also rail that will hit communities like Lynchburg and Charlottesville and Roanoke, and extending beyond Roanoke down to Blacksburg and Christiansburg, and my hope ultimately all the way down to Bristol, so we could go to all the way down the 81 corridor. Another benefit for Northern Virginia, though, is we have enormous amounts of flooding. I think I live in Alexandria. The amount of flooding that Alexandria and the areas south of the city into Mount Vernon get on a regular basis, this legislation, this bill, now will put federal government $47 billion into resiliency in terms of flood protection, water projects, benefit for Northern Virginia, benefit obviously as well for Hampton Roads. So a real win for Northern Virginia. Throughout Southside, Southwest, and the Valley, and for that matter, all of Virginia, we've got $65 billion in this bill for high-speed broadband connectivity. That'll mean in this legislation alone an additional $800 million for broadband for Virginia. You take that on top of the $700 million that Governor Northam has already allocated, and there should not be a home anywhere in Virginia over the next 2 to 3 years that doesn't have access to high-speed internet at an affordable price. The days when you've got to take your kids or your own work and go sit in a school parking lot or at a fast food restaurant to get high-speed, affordable internet should be in the rearview mirror. And I'm working with the governor, and I'll work with the with Governor Youngkin as well, to make sure that every community has got that broadband plan in place. I hope, actually, that the communities at least will have it in place by the end of the year.